Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good
Hey,
evening.
guys.
Celebrating fostering the benefit of the workers behind the writing chair. Thank you for making world news tonight with David Miller of America's most watched newscast. So, how big is GMA this week? Well, how about David and Ben Affleck?
Oh, God.
Rosario Dawson live, Heather Lockwood live, and Liam performing
Just
for
a small reminder, we are not muting people, but if you have background noise, appreciate it. Mute yourself, please.
Don't tell me she's going to run the meeting.
Yes, just for now, though.
We have everybody here?
Betcha.
Looks like it.
I think everybody's here.
All right, we are going to have to appoint someone to run the meeting this evening.
You're getting a lot of feedback.
If Gregory Cole could please mute his microphone, that'd be great. Thank you.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I just was saying we need to appoint someone to run the meeting tonight. Ms. Richards is going to be absent.
Bill, are you interested in running the meeting?
I will run the meeting if you like. I'll need some help from Tammy to help share the screen. I do this on my iPad, so I don't have a lot of flexibility on what I can do with this computer. I'd be happy to run the meeting if you like.
Tammy, would you be willing to help Bill?
I most certainly.
She already is. She has the agenda on the screen.
Great. Awesome. Well then,
Well,
I nominate Bill to run the meeting. So do we need to vote on it?
I think we do.
Do we need a motion?
Yes.
And I move that we have Bill run the meeting.
Support.
So we have a
Thank you,
motion made by Mr. Cummings, supported by Mr. Spencer, for me to run the meeting. Roll call.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Edward Smith, please mute your microphone. Thank you.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
All right. I will do this to the best of my ability here. Tammy, if you have a flag, can you put that on the screen somehow?
I do not, Bill. I'm sorry, I wasn't ready for that.
Just bring up a web browser and do a Google search for American flags and toss one up
Well,
there.
Yep. 1 second. Sorry, it's being a little stubborn. Every time I move it over there, it just disappears. So
Using up of my time. Nothing was moving this.
JD Hawk, would you please mute your microphone?
I'm trying to do that right now. Yes, thank you. I'm looking for the button.
I think most people are like frantically clicking.
Yeah, put the fish down. And
All
hit the
right,
button.
where is it?
Oh, wait, into that.
Ah! Hold on.
Yeah, you found them, or were they?
Where the heck?
Normally.
All right, here.
gotcha.
Hey,
Okay. Sorry about that. I just can't get it big enough.
Yeah.
Sure wish I could get this big enough. It,
Flight attendants that are making them a little hesitant. Sure, just it's not just pilots or flight attendants, it's ground workers, it's maintenance, it's everybody. There's the aborted baby issue, field issue testing, and substance and vaccine. That's an issue. But broader than that, it's am I allowed to make a decision for myself on what?
Deborah Roush, could you please mute your microphone? Thank you.
Can anybody see my screen?
Can you back up a little bit?
there you go, Bill.
Boom. Now we're talking.
Okay, can we have the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the
flag
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Sorry about that. Would have thought a little earlier I could have had that ready.
Hey, good save.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Here.
Ms. McGuire,
Here.
Mr. Spencer,
I have arrived.
Mr. Palmer,
Here.
Mr. Sutton here. Mr. Wusterbarth?
Present.
All right, and then I believe, Bill, we just need, are we going to need a motion to excuse Ms. Richards from the meeting tonight?
I don't think we need to do that. I know at the last meeting, Ms. McGuire mentioned that we'd done that with her. I honestly, I don't know why we did it at that time. I think it was a recommendation by Mr. Mitchell at the time. I've reviewed the protocol manual, and it only requires that, you know, if someone's going to miss a meeting, that they notify superintendent or supervisor or other board members. And Ann did that. She's stuck in an airport. So I honestly don't think it's necessary that we vote on someone being absent. I mean, actually, to what point? What are we voting on? That they're absent? We already know that. So I don't think that's required.
All right. I just wanted to make sure before we got trucking.
Yeah, the roll call. You didn't call my name.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Did you? Okay, I'm sorry. My apologies.
Yeah, you were fourth one down.
Okay. Agenda additions.
I have two. The first one is the pre-board work sessions. We were supposed to revisit that on the first meeting of September. Oops, we should probably address that today. I can go under other number 5. And then I thought that I had sent Tammy an email to add the live meetings venue selection and date to go live, and the discussion that dances around that whole subject there to the meeting today, but I apparently didn't. So the documentation is out there. I sent it to Josh and Ann and Tammy, and I'd like to go ahead and put that on the agenda to start talking about what we're going to do there. And that can go as number 6. That'd be fine.
So that's a discussion for returning to live meetings?
Yep. The committee that we formed a while back, where I think we've gotten all the information we're going to get, and it's time to present it to the board so that we can make a decision. So
is there information that you need to send to us?
If you, yeah, I thought that I can send it to you. Yep, you betcha. Hang on a second here. So Josh and Ann and Tammy have it, and I should probably create a quick email and send it to, let's see here, Jamie and Tim and Mr. Wusterbarth and Mr. Palmer. And I think that's it. That's the rest of you, huh?
And then, Bill, I'd like to ask if we need to have an agenda item added to discuss these additional work sessions that we're trying to get scheduled. I know there have been some collections of dates and times by Tammy, and I'm just not sure whether anything's been scheduled since I haven't seen it show up in my email. Just wanted to know if maybe tonight this would be a forum to work that out. Does that sound like something worthwhile?
Yeah, the first item under other is the township facilities discussion, and Mr. Sutton had wanted to try and schedule something so we can start having a discussion about the facilities. I was going to mention at that time that, you know, we have 2 other work sessions that Tammy has been trying to schedule. One of them is our last budget work session, which we need to get that wrapped up as best we can. So perhaps we can discuss at the same time we talk about the facilities discussion.
All right, fine.
Okay. All right, do I have a motion to approve the agenda with additions?
So moved.
We approve the agenda with additions.
Okay.
I'll support Tim.
Motion by Mr. Cummings, support by Mr. Spencer. Roll call.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Wisterbarth?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes.
Motion passed. Okay, public comment. I think everybody is unmuted, it looks like. So if there are any public comments, please state your name and you have 4 minutes.
Yeah, I'll go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, Brian Haley, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm looking under other, and let's get the words right. Township facilities discussion, which you just briefly touched on, Bill. I want to remind the board that we have never done, if you're aware, we have never done a structural assessment of the existing township hall. So this coincides with what we're talking about here. Now, I have looked through the rural agreement. We had it in there that we were going to do he puts it as a facility condition assessment. The first bullet point is the township hall. And I have never seen any assessment of any structural of the township hall, and that's why I'm calling at this point, because that is critical, and I don't know if all board members are aware of that. I've heard of a lot of language over the years concerning the hall over the last few years. But those are feelings. Those aren't based in facts. So in the structural assessment, obviously, we're going to get out and get down to the foundation, find out what we actually have, and all that expertise, everything that holds that building together. And so that's why I'm talking, because I talked to Mr. Schaefer about this a few years ago, and whenever this first came up, I can look at the document here, but May of 2019. And that was a contentious argument because we weren't getting to the point where he would commit that we would do this. That's the first step, and I think we can all agree on that. We need to know what we have, and that's what I'm calling for, Bill. A defined structural assessment of that building, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. Anybody else? Do we have?
Sure, Bill. I'll go. Okay. Mark Miller. I'll just blow through it quick. Sent everybody an email last night. It's pretty self-explanatory. I'm glad to see that Tammy pulled it together for the RFP. And I think if you make the suggestions, you'll be good to go. Regarding the notes on September 13th, I was misquoted both times. And I was actually driving back from Cincinnati, so that's why I didn't comment then. Just have the secretary send me an email and I'll break it down. All paid online systems, any other users beside Iosco County. Normally, if Elite says it's good to go, I'd accept it, except they've been upside down since his accident and they still haven't finished their audit. Like you guys who finished yours in May. Oh, and by the way, you might want to post that to your website. So your social district, I sent one of you about Springfield, Ohio. Township facilities, big question I'm getting is why. And my suggestion is you have at least one member attend the recycling conference in Bay City at the end of the month. And they have an early bird that I think is due. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, do we have anybody else? Looking,
hello.
I don't.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Yes, my name is Billy Wright. When you made a motion to elect the chairman for this evening, all you said was, I nominate Bill. The question is, Bill who? And when the motion is written up, I would assume and I would hope that you would put more than just Bill. Did you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. So it has to be, it can't just be Bill. Who is Bill? Thank you.
Okay, do we have anybody else? Not seeing. Hello? Any other public comment on anything on the agenda for this evening? We will have another public comment at the end of the meeting. Okay, I don't see any raised hands. So and Josh, I'm assuming that you will put my name on that.
Already in there is Mr. Palmer.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on, the consent agenda. We have the approval of the minutes from our regular meeting of September 27th. Does anybody have any comments on that? If not, I have a comment on that. In the very beginning, it's on page 3 of the packet. One of the additions to the agenda was to add 2 checking accounts, the DWRF and the SRF. That should be CWSRF. I think if we don't make a distinction between the two, they're both SRF funds. One is for sewer, one is for water. We need to keep that straight. And the other issue that I had, that I believe, was in the, let's see, in the motion to create those two. Josh, you have that you supported and I made the motion. I had it that I had it that you made the motion and Ann supported it, but I know it's difficult with this with the Zoom. I quit making comments on who made the motion and who supported because sometimes it's hard to hear. But I had it marked down that you had made the motion and it supported creating those 2 checking accounts, and I had it written down as the DWRF and the CWSRF.
All right, I will make those corrections.
Okay, was there anybody else have any comments on that? Okay, next item is the payment of bills. Are there any questions, comments, suggestions? If not, I have a couple of questions. If you look at page 9 of the packet, just an example, there's the Wells Fargo vendor financial services copier printer payments. It says August 2021, and there are multiple of those payments on pages 9, 10, and subsequent pages. And then if you go to page 14, you have that same thing repeated again. I don't, Ms. McGuire can probably explain this. I don't think we're double paying because I see it's a different invoice number, but it would appear that we're paying the same bill twice. Because it says
those were two separate invoices. One was for our regular services, and then the second one you're seeing lease payments in August 2021 was a lease on one of the machines we have here. It was two separate invoices that we received, which are why they're on two different pays.
So, but those will be for 2 different months, aren't they? They aren't both for August.
I believe one of those is for Old Orchard Park and one is for the township.
Well, they're broken down into the various funds, you know, the different departments, but they both, under both pages, it says payments for August of 2021. And what I'm saying is one of the payments, I'm guessing one invoice is for August and then another invoice must be for a different month because they're in all these different departments.
It's my understanding we charge back the departments for their portion, and I think that there's departmental budget for that. Isn't that the reason why we're seeing it this way, Tammy?
I would imagine. I want to move the screen so I can look and see what he's talking about. Is that okay with you? Okay.
Yeah, that way the audience can follow along as well. I think I see what he's talking about, because in both sections, it shows up as the same dollar amount and both of them are in Department 299 unallocated.
Definitely, yeah.
So yes, the printer does show up in each individual department, but this time it's listed twice.
It charges water and sewer. What page is that one on, Bill?
Well, what I'm looking at is if you look at the invoice description, it says copper printer lease payments, August 2021. And that's on some of them on page 14. And if you go back to page 9 at the very beginning, it says exactly the same thing. So if you weren't paying attention, it would look like we're paying the same bills twice. And it's to all the various there's one under the superintendent, one under the clerk, one under the treasurer, one under the assessor.
And the purchase order system is broken down to each department. So each department gets charged their amount of usage.
Right, but they're not all for August, right?
Yes, they would all be for August. For each department that has a unit in their office. So the clerk's office has one. Jamie at the treasurer's office has a copier and a printer. The assessor's office has a copier and a printer.
Okay, I understand.
No, I see what you're saying, Bill. I just went in and pulled the invoice. That second one that's requesting pre-approval should have been September's.
Okay, that was the point I was getting at. They're both labeled. Okay. Okay.
I do apologize for that. I had to go look at the actual invoice on that, and that should have been September.
Okay, that's the point I was getting at. The other item that I wanted to mention, if you look on page 12 of the payment of bills in the packet, the sewer fund, there's the payment to Micah Myers is it says DWRF projects, phase 2 water project. That's under the sewer fund. So we shouldn't be, it shouldn't be labeled as water project under the sewer fund. And the invoice, the amount is correct. It's just these descriptions that go in here. And this is where my previous comment about making clear on the two checking accounts for the DWRF and the CWRF. CW is clean water, and that is relative to the sewer projects. And then the next comment, question is down to water. It again says DWRF projects, which is correct. This is the phase 2 water, but the amount that we had approved at the last meeting was for, the invoice was $9,117. Now, it does say multiple invoices, but does that mean that there's an additional amount that was added?
Trevor Roush, would you please mute your microphone? Thank you.
Because the invoice that we approved at the last meeting was for $9,000.
Is that a new name in the game?
Jeff's iPad, would you please mute your microphone? Thank you.
Repeat the question, Bill.
Yeah, at the last meeting, we approved an invoice for Micah Myers for the DWRF project in the amount of $9,117. This amount is $9,187.56. I'm just wondering what the difference was.
There are two invoices, one for the $9,117 and then an additional invoice for $70.56.
Okay, all right, very good.
Isn't there another one in the packet this evening?
Yeah.
Yes, there is.
What's the total on that sucker? I'm scrolling to it, but it's down there.
That one is $7,245.08.
So, okay.
So apparently, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but we get multiple invoices from Micah Myers at various times, and the larger ones we approve beforehand. Is that what I'm understanding here?
Well, the larger ones, yes, we have to approve because I don't have that amount for approval.
Okay. So, like Mr. Sutton said, there was apparently a bill from them for an additional $70 some that we simply add, because it does say multiple invoices on here. So
yes, and I just assume that it's better if I can pay the smaller ones right away and just leave one. That way we don't get behind.
Right. Okay. That was all the questions I had. Anybody else have any comments on the payment of bills?
No.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Support.
We have a motion to approve the consent. Mr. Cummings made a motion to support to approve the consent agenda. Ms. McGuire supported. Roll call.
Mr. Wusterbarth? Mr. Wusterbarth?
There we go. Sorry. Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Motion passed. Subcommittee reports. We have the Airport Authority update. I don't know. In Ann's email, she said that they were going to be talking about the replacement for Mr. Kellen and doing interviews somewhere around the October 26th. Is that what this report was going to cover, or is it have to do with the Air Force?
It was more the Air Force and the projects that the cleanup.
Right.
The digging hole.
But that is something, and just from my own experience, I've attended every town hall meeting that the township has had with the Air Force and Eagle and the other government agencies since 2015. I believe was the first one that was at the Methodist Church. And at every one of those meetings, I approached the person that was in charge from the Air Force and asked that specific question: why don't you simply, where you know there's a high concentration of these chemicals, why don't you dig those up, just dig the ground up and remove it? And every single one said, no, that's not cost effective. You know, we just simply can't do that. Well, the new person that's in charge, Dr. Catherine Varley, did an estimate of what it would cost to do that. She apparently got the funding. They were supposed to start today or sometime this week at the FTO2 site, which is the fire training area out on the base, where there's they had funneled off a good deal of the AFFF foam that they use out there, and there's a high concentration area of that foam, and that's where they're going to be digging that out. There was a cement cap put over the top of it. Dr. Varley had that cap removed. They did some testing of the soil. It's highly contaminated, so they will be digging that dirt out and taking it to an ecologically approved landfill where it'll be handled appropriately, and that will by far speed up the process of clearing up the contamination that's heading into Clark's Marsh. That is the primary contributor to that contamination there. So I was happy when I heard that Dr. Varley was going to take on this project, and I think this should take years off the cleanup of the base out there. So this is a good thing. And Mr. Cummings, you're on the RAB. Did you have any comment about that?
Oh, it's phenomenal. I mean, we've talked about the trouble with Clark's Marsh for years, and when I first started bringing up the point that Clark's Marsh was at one point part of the actual base itself, and that when it got contaminated, the Air Force gave it away to the Forestry Service, and you know, it just gave them trouble. And I feel like finally they're going to start taking some responsibility for the cleanup and the prevention of the continued contamination of the area.
Yeah, like I said, I think this will be a big step forward and speed up the process of the overall cleanup of the base. There's still a long way to go in that process, but this certainly will help. And then the other remedial actions where they're going to put in an extraction field and pump and treat the groundwater that's flowing into Vanneton Lake should help to start cutting down on the foam that we see there in the lake, and the levels of PFAS that are going into the water through the groundwater there. So, okay, next, superintendent's report. Tammy?
Okay, so for the all paid online payment systems, your packet contains a proposal and service agreement from Allpaid to provide an online payment system to allow certain township fees to be paid online from the website. Allowing online payments is an RRC requirement. Allpaid is a respected vendor in the industry and also used by Iosco County to facilitate online payments. You will note that the township is not burdened with the cost of this service, as fees are charged to users and are quite minimal at $2.95 flat fee for a check and 2.95% for debit and credit transactions. 2 alternate scenarios were considered through BS&A and Point and Pay, and were not good options based on cost to the township and service to the users. The township attorney has reviewed the service contract and has no issues with it. Implementing an online payment system requires township board approval.
Comments?
Yeah, my first question was which fees, or excuse me, which kinds of payments would this service be used for?
I'm sorry.
Water and tax.
Zoning?
No, not water and tax. We have point and pay for water and tax.
Right, that's what I'm trying to find out. What are these for?
Zoning. Zoning fees is what the thought was.
There was a demonstration that was attached. I saw in some of the backup emails, but it wasn't attached. It was sent directly to Todd. So I haven't had a chance to see that, what the setup is. I reached out on the treasurer's listserv last week when the board packet was presented, and some people use just all paid. Some people use point and pay and all paid. I believe Todd was looking for a resolution to meet his RRC checklist, I think is why this is being presented. But I would like to see how the back end of it works, to be honest. That said something about sending us equipment, but I already have a swiper up at the counter for credit cards. I talked to Nicole a little bit today about it and how Iosco County did it, and it kind of makes sense. But I personally would like to see the demonstration.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what Iosco County did? Is it do they have a mixed payment scenario that we would end up having to have, or what is it you're referring to?
With all paid, it's not integrated with BSNA. So even though they can click on our website and make a payment for zoning fees, let's say, then even though we get the money, we still have to hand enter the data into our cash receipting system. So one of my main concerns was, are we going to have people clicking and paying their $35? Well, let's say they don't know, they're putting up a fence and they think it's a zoning fee for $35 when it's actually only $20. So are they going to overpay and then we have to reimburse them? Or how does that work? And Nicole said the process with Iosco County is that she would review it before the payment goes through to make sure they've turned in all their paperwork and check the fees to make sure everything's paid correctly. That's how it worked at Iosco County. She said she's not sure if that's changed since then, or how this setup was going to work, or something like that. And I told her if that was the case and we could make sure it was checked before it gets sent to us to hand enter still, that would be fine. I don't have a problem, because I would like to help Todd reach the goal of getting the RRC certification as well. But I would like to see the demonstration.
Why can't the other system accept the zoning fee?
Todd was talking with the BSNA guy. I gave him the information. There's a module that they could purchase through BSNA. I'm sorry?
It's the capital cost of the module. They're going back on my notes.
Okay.
It's like $75.
Yeah, Todd asked me about it, and I said it would probably be better to talk to Tammy and Nicole about it, because it's not really anything in the treasurer's office. So as far as like purchasing another module from BSNA or those type of things.
So would the module be enable us to take all payments so that we've got one payment portal? Or are we still going to try to do 2 or 3 different processors for different areas?
To be honest, Jeremy, I didn't look any further into it with BSNA. I know that it would be, if anything, it would be integrated, so I wouldn't have to hand enter it still, even though we get the payments electronically. That was the biggest thing that I thought was a benefit. I can't speak to what anybody else knows about it or anything.
Fair enough. we just keep circling this payment thing, and it's like every company that we come into either wants a contract that's 500 years long, or they're not going to give us all the services that we're asking for. And I just don't understand if that company just doesn't exist and we're just stuck between a rock and a hard place, or if we just haven't found them yet, I guess.
With the changeover in my office, to be honest, I know I mentioned it in the email that I sent to everybody. I kind of put it on the back burner to look for more different options. A treasurer friend or financial director of mine that's works for the city of Albion said he has a line on somebody because they're going through the same thing. And they're pretty chaotic down there right now too, but he said he would get back with me. I reached out to him last week and haven't heard back to him. I talked to a few different treasurers that have the all paid. Some, like I said, some have just that. Some, and it used to be GovPay. So, and that was a good company. Everybody likes it, but some people use Point and Pay because it's integrated and then use the all paid for the zoning fees. Like, you know, I assumed that's what we were doing because I hadn't heard anything else. But I don't know. I still, like I said, I'd like to see how the back end of it works, to be honest. Or is there a file that I can just upload even though it's not integrated? Just have a few questions. Tammy, is the all paid person online that we could ask questions?
No, they are not. They couldn't be available.
So Jamie, let me get this straight. Now you're saying that we already have the ability to take credit cards and debit cards for taxes and sewer and water bills. Is that right?
And zoning fees, cemetery, a bunch of things. I can do zoning fees right now over the counter with credit cards with Point and Pay. It was the online aspect that Todd was looking for, to be a portal for being online.
So, okay. So that was what I was interpreting this request to be, was to be able for people to do it like from our website online. Right,
correct. That's all it is. We already do take credit cards for the majority of things that we do. We've been doing that for a while.
That's what I thought. And that system is not able to be put online onto the website to be able to do that same thing.
Like I said, I kind of kicked it over because they suggested purchasing the zoning module, and I didn't think that was my, for my purview. So I kind of handed it over to Nicole and had Todd reach out to Tammy.
The issue when I talked to Todd and Tammy about this is it's the porthole for RRC, but the fees with the BSNA system module is expensive. And the fees or the cost of capital is like $7,500 or $8,000 for the module. I'm not sure if that's a yearly cost or if it's a one-time cost, but then the fees are a lot higher. So if my opinion is if we just need the portal and it works at the county, I would like to go forward with this just to get RRC out of the way, because we've been kicking this can since March. And I really don't want to hold that up anymore.
They want a contract?
It's 1 year. Based on the contract that's in.
And Tim has reviewed all the materials as well.
So if we use it for a year and we hate it, we can change it.
Yes.
So do I have a motion?
I move to accept all. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
You started. I'm cutting out. You already had what you were going to say. You're already ready. Go ahead.
I'll go and make a motion that we approve the all-paid online payment system as presented in the packet.
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Wisterbarth, support by Mr. Spencer. Roll call.
What was that? We ready for roll call?
Yeah, I have a question. Yeah, I did. I have a question before we call for a roll call, if we can pause. But Jamie, I hear the question you're asking for, but you're looking for a presentation, and
I would like to be able
right now you're saying you don't think you have anything but just the hope and dream that the county is somehow making it work. That's the concern, right?
Right. Actually, I would like to table it tonight just so I could talk to the county to see how they processed it, because I know they have BSNA as well. If they're happy with how that works, or is it a lot more work or cumbersome? I mean, if the board votes tonight to do it, then we'll work it out. I mean, that's what we do. So I was just hoping that I would get a chance. I didn't realize that there was a demonstration or that I didn't know this was even going to be on the agenda tonight. So till the board packet Thursday.
So I guess I've asked the board here. I understand we would like to get this done tonight, but what's the problem? Why can't we find out how this is supposed to work before we vote for it?
I think we're just trying to get the RRC thing done. And since they're not asking for a ridiculously long contract, we're just talking about getting it done so that RRC can pass. And then if you guys want to wait, I support either way. I don't really have, I mean, I'm irritated that we can't get one payment portal to cover everything, but
yeah, but we're past that at this point because there doesn't seem to be a vendor out there. I mean, maybe that's an opportunity for you.
Oh, I don't know.
but no, okay, that's the answer to my question. Thank you. So proceed with the motion if you like.
Okay, we have a motion on the table by Mr. Woodsbar, supported by Mr. Spencer. Roll call.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
No.
Mr. Cummings?
No.
Mr. Sutton, no. Mr. Spencer?
No.
Motion failed.
I'll make a motion that we table this till the next meeting and have a definite answer.
Do you want motion to postpone until the next meeting?
And just so the board's aware, I did talk to Todd before the meeting. I know he couldn't be here, and he didn't seem like he cared either way what we did, if we waited or not. But he understood. It sounded like he did anyway.
Well, Jeremy, or Jamie, I had a discussion with Todd a half an hour before the meeting. He really wanted this to go through.
Well, he didn't seem like he mattered either way. So.
Well, there's
Mr. Palmer corrected your motion, Jamie. As far as tabling, it's postponing.
Okay, thank you. I'll postpone. Yep.
Postpone till our next meeting.
Correct. Thank you.
Right.
Do I have support? Ms. McGuire made a motion to postpone this item until our next meeting. Mr. Cummings supported. Roll call.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes. Would Catherine Larive please mute your microphone? Thank you.
Sorry, did you complete the roll call, Josh? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Yes, sorry, the motion was carried.
All right, thank you. Motion passed. And let's try and make sure that we get this on the next agenda. I know sometimes we postpone things and then it's several meetings before they get put back on. So let's see if we can't get this one handled here by the next meeting.
Is there anything else? Oh, sorry.
Mr. Spencer? Yes.
I was just going to ask if there's anything that we can do to help facilitate this payment process, because it's been coming up for a couple of meetings now. And I mean, we need to get something done. I appreciate that, but I don't want to lock us into something that's going to be miserable and not do everything that we need it to either.
Well, it sounds like the primary question here is how is the money handled on the back end? And Ms. McGuire is in charge. She has to handle the money. So
right.
I think she needs somebody needs to explain to her how this is going to work.
For sure.
And so maybe someone from Allpaid can get in contact with her, or if the county is using the system, perhaps if she has an opportunity to speak with the county, is that what I'm understanding, Jamie? Is that we just want to know how this is going to?
Yeah, I'd like, yep, between the county and talking all paid, and then I can sit down with Nicole and see how we're going to create a procedure to handle the payments. Correct.
Okay. All right. So we should be able to have that done by the next board meeting.
I will make sure that it's done and ready for you guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is the assessing RFP.
Okay. As discussed at the previous board meeting, the assessor and I got together and reviewed the previous assessing RFP from 2013. With quite a few revisions, I am presenting to you this evening an updated RFP for assessing services so we can immediately begin trying to replace our outgoing assessor. This RFP has also been reviewed by the township's attorney, and I would ask that the board consider approving the RFP as presented and give permission to go out for proposals for assessing services.
I would move to approve the RFP as written and authorize the going out and finding someone.
Or
we have a motion by Mr. Spencer, supported by Mr. Sutton. Roll call.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton? Yes.
Okay. If I might just back up for 1 second on the all paid, we need to get that clear. On the contract, they have Mr. Dickerson as the person signing the document. Todd doesn't have authority to engage the township in a contract, so we need to make sure that that's either the superintendent or the clerk and supervisor. I would suggest the superintendent, but when this comes back to the board, let's make sure that's correct if we can.
I will make sure that gets done.
All right. Next up is the Auditor RFP.
Okay, at the board's request at the August 23rd meeting, direction was given to prepare an RFP for auditor services. I am presenting this tonight for your review. I would ask that the board give approval to send out for proposals for auditing services.
Comments?
I would just make a motion to approve.
I got
Is that going to be to approve the superintendent to send out the proposals for auditing services?
Okay. I think Mr. Withbarth had a question or comment.
Go ahead.
I do. I've had a couple emails on this as I'm getting back from my family issue. A couple things. Yes, as we put out the RFP, I'd like to know what the estimate is going to be for year 2 and year 3, and identifying the cost per hour if additional work is needed for unplanned work needed from the firm to finalize the audit. Those were a few comments that came in through email from some constituents.
Mr. Palmer, I would like to add that I would like to see whoever is proposing responding to the RFP, that they provide the name of their partner, manager, senior staff, so that we know who we're engaging with, not just the name of a firm.
I think if you look in the packet on page 81 of the packet, under that, the RFP, on page 81, it has the fee proposal, its total price and hours breakdown, rates of additional professional services, manner of payment. So that should deal with the pricing.
Yeah.
Can we clarify?
Well, there's difference. I'm so sorry, but not to clarify Mr. Wusterbarth's question, but I see his question. His question is an hourly rate, because if they're going to do additional work outside the scope of what they're going to charge, whatever, I don't know, flat fee or whatever, an hourly rate is not the wrong thing to be asking for. I just want to differentiate between fixed fee and hourly time and material.
Well, under number 2 of this, the sealed fee proposal, it says rates for additional professional services. I would take that to mean an hourly rate.
Let's just clarify it. Hourly rate by partner, staff, manager, senior hours, senior staffer.
Okay. I think we should be able to add that in there, can't we, Tammy?
Yeah, I'm taking notes.
Okay. I knew you were.
And after that, Tammy, I can send you an email when the meeting's concluded.
Great, that's even better.
Mr. Sutton, do you want to amend your motion to approve this with those changes?
Yes.
Then I will support it.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Sutton, supported by Mr. Spencer. Roll call.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Motion passed. Next up is the row engineering contract extension.
Okay, your packet contains the 2017 row as needed engineering agreement. The board will note that the term of the agreement runs through the 30th day of November 2019 with the 2-year extension approved at the November 11, 2019 Township Board meeting. I would request that the board renew one of the 2 addendums presented. The first addendum provides an open-ended contract with a 60-day termination, while the other plans for a 2-year contract with an option of a 2-year extension. This requires Township Board approval. And I will note also, I got a fee schedule from Rick Freeman. It was just before the meeting started. I emailed that out to everyone. And just to clarify, the fees increase, and Rick, correct me if I'm wrong, for as needed services only, right?
Yes, that is correct. The proposals that we do for each individual contracts, those are locked in with the rates that we submit at the time of the proposal. These fees are just associated with any of the as needed requests.
Comments?
So we've been doing 2-year extensions for years and years, and now all of a sudden there's an open-ended. Getting tired of renewing these, are you, Mr. Freeman?
I will accept either one. It was I think a request from one of the board members to possibly look at an open-ended. So
yeah, that would be me. I had requested the 2 options. I think we've got a lot of work. Projects that we're going to be doing here in the coming years, and Roe has done an excellent job for us. And not only that, but they have made a commitment to our community. They've actually opened an office here in Oscoda. They contribute to financially to a lot of projects here. They've donated their engineering services for our project at Ratliff Park for the handicap fishing pier and kayak launch. And I would just like to see both contracts have a 60-day opt-out clause for either party. So if at some point we for some reason weren't happy with their services, with 60 days notice, we could cancel. I would like to be engaged with a longer term contract with Roe. I think they've done an excellent job for us, and we've got a lot of things coming up in the future, and I would like to keep them moving on it. So, but either way.
I agree.
Rick, are you off? Are you leaving the meeting after this?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Okay. I had a question, but because we skipped over subcommittee reports or project updates, so I just had a few questions about some of the projects. But I can do it at board comment if you're going to stay on till the end.
That's fine. I'll take the comments or questions when you have them.
Thank you.
I would move that we accept the first addendum so that we don't have to revisit this all the time, since they both have the same cancellation clause. Might as well.
Or
okay, we have a motion by Mr. Spencer, supported by Ms. McGuire, to approve the addendum for the contract extension with Rowe for the unspecified time. Roll call.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Okay. Next is the Micah Myers invoice for August.
Okay, your packet contains an invoice for Micah Myers for the month of August. Invoice number 663577 is for professional fees rendered for the Township sewer project. This bill is being presented to the board for approval as it exceeds the superintendent's spending approval. I would ask that you consider approving invoice 663577 in the amount of $7,245.08 to be paid from Fund 590-000-801.000, professional fees.
It says on this invoice that there are outstanding balances at the 30 to 60 day late, 60 to 90 day late, and the 90 to 120 days late. Is that accurate?
Well, the last batch that I presented at the last meeting, I hadn't been getting the invoices. They weren't being sent to me, and I spoke with Mark Nettleton, which is the gentleman that we've been doing a lot of work through. I explained to him, hey, you know, these need to be sent to me. I can't pay them if I don't have them. So last was catch up, and we have paid all those. So he just caught us up for August when he sent this last batch. So, and they are a little delayed on sending out their invoices because this is for August payment, and I just received it last week. So,
and I went back and checked, and the $5,283.08, part of that is the payment that's in our payment of bills for the 4,500 and something, and or 4,200, whatever it is.
Are you sure? Because on the 31 to 60 days late, it says it's the worth $4,235 in arrears, and that's right above it, that exact amount on invoice number 662247, 8/18/21, $4,235 even.
Yeah, and if you go to look at the payment of bills, that was what was approved in our payment of bills tonight to pay. And then last month in our payment of bills, there was an amount for $1,000 and some dollars, which makes up the $5,283.08. Because I had the same question. I went back and looked through the payment of bills, and that $5,283.08 has been paid.
So when we pay the $7,245.08, then we're current.
Hopefully.
All right.
Yes, we should be very current.
Did anybody talk to him, Mr. and Mrs. Myers, about how these invoices?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. Well, I would make a motion that we go ahead and pay the Micah Myers invoice number 663577 in the amount of $7,245.08 out of the account that Tammy's going to list for professional services, which is
590-000-801.000.
Support.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Ms. McGuire, to pay the Michael Myers invoice 663577. Roll call.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Motion passed. Next item, Oscoda Township Social District.
Okay, your packet contains documentation to consider adopting a downtown social district. Proposed budget, resolution, which is required by the state, the operations and maintenance plan required by the state, and the social district map also required by the state. If approved by the board, the EIC director will finalize the necessary documentation for the township to submit the required documentation to the Michigan Liquor Control Commission as prescribed by the state. This action requires township board approval.
So it says in there that there will be no alcoholic beverages consumed on a U.S. highway, but our social district is a great big giant line right down the highway. How does that work?
I believe that's just that it would be the boundary. It wouldn't go on the highway. It would be to the roads to the east.
So if they're walking on the sidewalk, they're okay. But if they step in the street, then they're getting nailed to the wall. Is that, and that could bring us all kinds of trouble with the state for letting them onto the U.S. highway?
Well, I believe the boundaries are subject to, they can be moved. This has been presented to the Planning Commission and the EIC board. I guess it would be the board's discretion to move the lines.
Well, the Michigan Liquor Control Commission will certainly decide.
That's what I'm wondering is if we're going to go through and set all this up and then we're going to get smacked down by the state. Pop! You're right on a highway. You can't do that. And you knew it. It said right in the document, you can't do that. You guys did it anyway. Those sidewalks are on the easement. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, they would not approve our permit, I believe, if that was the case.
In the permitting guidelines, Jeremy, wherever we have the social district has to clearly be marked with signs. So you could put a sign up not to pass this point. You have to clearly identify the area. It's within the social district's information that was attached in the package.
Back sheet.
At Traverse City, they completely close off the street and they've got barriers. Then downtown there.
No, Pina's the same.
And so even though the coffee shop is in there, we're not allowed to. Well, you wouldn't be allowed to bring your alcoholic beverage into the coffee shop to pour some Kahlua into your coffee. You'd have to do that outside their premises, right?
Yes.
You guys contemplated a commons area within the social district. Just so you're clear. I mean,
say that again. A commons area.
Like a commons area. Yeah. The first draft of what I had looked at. Used common as in like a common area, but there's a commons like, for example, the Boston Commons. It's a community. Just looking at the statute and the intent of the statute, it's like within this social district, there would be a commons area designated clearly, not on the highway, where people could consume what they buy from patrons or from establishments within the social district. That's my read of the statute, and then liquor control, of course, have regulatory oversight too.
So if I walk into one of the establishments that sells alcohol within that social district, and I purchase one of the special cups, and I'm walking around with it, if I have my own cup of something else, I can feasibly set down the social district cup and cross that line and keep walking, right? Because we don't have an ordinance in Oscoda that says you're not allowed to walk around with alcohol, do we? I guess I'm getting at what I'm getting at here is that the social district is great, yay, but the downtown is already a social district. You just can't buy it from the bars. You have to bring your own. So that's basically what we're doing here is allowing the bars to sell people alcohol that they can walk outside and walk down to the common area or to the beach or wherever else they want to go within that district.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much what we're doing here.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
And I do know these districts are becoming very popular. As mentioned, there's one in Alpena. Recently, I was in Toledo, and they have a similar district in the downtown Toledo area that's very well attended down near the Mud Hens Stadium down in that area.
Right. Oh, I'm sure they're popular walking. Everybody's been always wanted to walk around outside and with their alcoholic beverage in the designated area. Another thing that's becoming really popular is medical marijuana and marijuana consumption facilities for recreational. Maybe we should talk about that the next meeting too. But in the meantime, I suppose this is this a resolution? No, it's not even a resolution. So what are we just approving the approving to go out and get the license?
Go ahead, Bill.
It's approving the creation of the social district of downtown.
And wouldn't we need a resolution for that?
There is. That's coming up.
Oh, I didn't see it on here. It said City of Tecumseh on it. So maybe I'm looking at the wrong one.
It's under the resolutions 2021-30.
I'm looking at the wrong one. Okay, well. So do we need to just approve the resolution, or do we have to approve the social district and then pass the resolution?
We need to pass the creating the social district, and then we can have the resolution that gives the guidelines for it. So do I have a motion?
I would approve the creation of the social district for downtown Oscoda under state statute MCL 436.1551 and having the EIC director prepare the submission to the Michigan Liquor Control Commission.
Is there support? I will support that.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wushtabarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Motion passed. So on to the resolutions.
Okay, you have before you resolution 2021-29. This is based off of resolution 2019-20, allowing for the creation and outline of the Economic Improvement Committee. And the request is to modify the 2019-20 resolution and change the yellow highlighted area to read or business owners or key employee from an Oscoda Township business. The Economic Improvement Committee supports this action by vote and requests that the Township Board also approve this action. Amending the resolution to create a new resolution requires Township Board approval.
Why wasn't that written into the ordinance in the first place? Just out of curiosity.
I think it was just an oversight. It didn't include business owners, which you know, probably should have been, obviously should have been included.
So this is a pretty standard thing to allow folks that don't necessarily live here to be on an ancillary board for the EIC just because they work somewhere in town.
Well, they're business owners, so they would own property in the township. Or
it doesn't say that. It says a key employee from an Oscoda Township business. That means that if a store manager if an assistant manager from McDonald's lives in Greenbush, they could feasibly be on this board, right?
If it's a key employee, it does. The first thing is it does say business owners or a key employee.
What's the definition of a key employee, I guess?
Well, that would be defined by the business owner, I would guess.
So it could be anybody.
Is there a limit to what, like Jeremy's saying? Like, let's say it is like 4, can it be 4 people that don't even live in Oscoda Township be on there?
No, I believe
that's a good question too.
It has to be a mix of.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, because that's not defined.
Where does it say it has to be a mix?
I believe it is. Maybe it's in the bylaws. I believe. I'm not sure. I shouldn't even have said that, but that's what I was always understood that it should be, is a mix of property owners, Oscoda Township property owners and business owners.
Sorry, I didn't ask it earlier. Just when Jeremy started asking that, it just kind of popped into my head.
Yeah, I mean, when it was originally written, I'm sure I would think that they would have considered that, and they probably didn't put it in there for a reason. I mean, especially if I would say if it's a business owner that wants to be on one of the boards and he or she lives out of town and they have a business that they own in Oscoda, sure, let's put that in there. But for them to be able to designate a key employee, I mean, that could be anybody.
Well, if you look below, right here in this, below the first yellow highlight, it's to maintain adequate cross-representation at a minimum, 1 board member, and then 1 township planning commission resident and 1 resident of Oscoda Township. So it is spelled out.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it would be really hard to have all non-residents in there at this point with that specified.
Can non-residents be on the Oscoda Township Planning Commission?
No.
Oh, well, okay, that cinches it right up then, doesn't it?
I think the idea of this was to try and get a couple of business owners involved in the EIC.
I'm good with that. I just don't like the key employee part.
Well, that's understandable, but if the owner of the business doesn't live here in town and they have a general manager that runs the store for them here that is in Oscoda, it would make sense that person would be on the EIC to represent that business as it relates to Oscoda.
I suppose. And I guess my comment would be tough, but all right.
Could you put business owners or a key employee that is a resident of Oscoda Township? Because otherwise, if you would, even though there's a mix, those 4 people would have the majority of your committee.
I think we could add that language, a key employee who is a resident of Oscoda.
Yeah.
I think that would be sufficient. I will move to accept resolution number 2021-29, Oscoda Township Economic Improvement Committee, or the alterations that we're doing today to that ordinance or to that resolution. But the verbiage must be changed to say, or business owners or a key employee from an Oscoda Township business that lives in the township.
Support.
So if the owner wants to be on the board and he doesn't live here, he can drive in, that's fine, or she, whichever the case may be. And if they want to designate somebody from their business to be a representative on an Oscoda Township board for their business, then that person needs to live here because they're not an owner.
Correct. Yeah, because the owner, is invested, in the community. Yep. Makes sense.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Spencer, supported by Ms. McGuire. Roll call.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Motion passed. Next, resolution 2021-30, designation of a social district in the downtown.
Hey, Jeremy, here's your resolution you were looking for.
Oh, I move to adopt resolution number 2021-30 so that we can all drink downtown. Outside.
I will support that. We have a motion by Mr. Spencer, supported by myself, Bill Palmer, for the resolution 2021-30 for the establishing a social district. Roll call.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Wishtabarth?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes.
Motion passed.
There it is. Yay.
Okay, next the WB3 revisions.
All right, we have Nicole online to discuss this particular subject.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes. Yeah, hi, Nicole.
Right.
Go ahead.
Hi. So at the September 7th Planning Commission meeting, the WB3 revisions were accepted, and those revisions include we removed transient housing as a principal use, and then we added I, J, and P through U as special permitted uses. We needed to put, let's see here, recreational marijuana in there. And then we added the apartments, condos, planned unit development. So I would just like to ask that you guys approve it as well.
Discussion, comments?
What's the district, or what are the borders of the WB3 zoning district?
WB3 is on base, it's wordsmith business. So the areas on base are kind of scattered, but there's like on Skeel, I can say Skeel for sure. I don't have the map right in front of me.
Neither do I.
Yeah, there's a map in Nicole's office that shows that has the district highlighted. It goes down Skeel to Arrow, down Arrow, encompasses most of the business area of the Air Force, and then of course separate from that is the Airport Authority property, but the bulk of the property on the old base is WB3.
Does that include where on the other side of Arrow Street, where there's what, Scottish Christmas and or used to be Scottish Christmas? I don't know if it still exists. Yeah. And then what, does Coletta own that building that used to be Seisenschmidt?
Yes. Yes.
So
that's all
this
part of WB3.
Okay. Okay. All right.
There was, in one of the reasons for this, Nicole, if you wanted to go over it, but we had somebody that's interested in building apartments, and the way the zoning was written, the only thing we had in there was for transient housing. And what that meant, what that was defined as, was housing for employees that worked on the base. But then the question is, how do you enforce that? How do you know that the people that are living in these apartments are only people that work for a company on the base? So that, that kind of wording in our ordinance was, it was a little strange to have language like that in our 165 ordinance. So to make it more clear, we added these various, multifamily dwellings, apartments, condominiums, townhouses, site condos, planned unit developments. And since they're special permitted uses, they all have then, because of that, they all have to come to the Planning Commission for approval for any site projects. So Whereas permitted uses, for the most part, can be approved by the planning and zoning director, but special permit uses have to be approved by the planning commission as a whole for the site plan.
So we just need a
Thank
motion.
You, Bill.
We just need to a motion to approve section 4.15 WB3 Wordsmith Business District changes or alterations, as it were.
I think as it's presented is.
I move that we accept section 4.15 WB-3 Wordsmith Business District as presented.
Is there support?
Support.
Motion to approve the changes to the 165 ordinance as it relates to WB3 by Mr. Spencer, supported by Mr. Sutton. Roll call.
Mr. Worsterbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Motion passed. Okay. Going on to other township facilities discussion. This was inserted by Mr. Sutton. So if you want to, Josh, you want to take it away.
Yes, this was just to get out there and get the discussion going and get our, I know we're doing a lot of planning on the budget meetings and everything, so just kind of getting that out there as we're checking our schedules so we can start planning on the municipal services building and get that project rolling. I know we had the last meeting, we were trying to find a permanent office for Todd here. We've got some office sharing, so we're just at that point, we really need to address it. We can't afford to keep kicking this down. If we grew anymore, we'd have people sitting in multiple offices.
Oh yeah, plus the chiefs, the chief of police, he has a closet for an office. There's other closet offices, and there's not enough room for the fire department, period. There's not enough room.
Right.
That township hall has been there since I was a child. I think the town is probably starting to grow a little bit here. Feels like it is anyway. And I'd like to see it, see our township hall grow with it. And either we put, so that's what these discussions I think are here for, is that we can start talking about what we're going to do, whether we're going to revamp the building that we're in, do a phased approach, start looking at some alternative sites. And I think that we should have some work sessions to discuss that. And if we don't have a study about the current building, as Mr. Haley suggested, then I'd either like to see the one we do have or get one done so that we can start planning for this stuff. Because if we wait too long, it's going to be too late.
Well, I would agree with that. And I think this is an important issue that we need to address. But like I mentioned earlier on, we requested the superintendent email everybody to get schedules to schedule work sessions for our budget meetings and for working on the beach. Those are, our budget sessions should be on the top of our list right now to get that, so we can get that completed in the time that's remaining. And of course, the beach improvements that we talked about in the past are important as well. But this, I agree, this municipal building, we need to start talking about this and having some work sessions. So I think if we can, but we all need to respond to Ms. Klein to let her know what our times are so we can get some of these meetings put together and get, like I said, get our budget put together and talk about the beach park improvements and also this municipal building. And I would add on to that possible community center along with that. So these are important. This is an important thing that and Mr. Sutton's right. We need to get this on the calendar and on the agenda to start having some work sessions to discuss this. So I don't know that we need a special motion on this other than we'll have the superintendent try and put a schedule together for all the board members to try and make some of these meetings. We've got, this would make 3 now that we need to try and get scheduled. And I think the work session for the budget needs to come first. We need to get that taken care of. So
yeah, there's just more getting them in order. I know we need to attack the budget, but then I figured the winter would be a great time for us to go through that parks, like the downtown park and our municipal building, and kind of talk those ideas through, and maybe come out in the spring with some ideas we can put into action.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Josh. I think we need to get on that. So Tammy, if you'll work on getting everybody scheduled together, and you know, it may turn out that we can't get 100% attendance at our work sessions, but if we can at least get a quorum so that we can, I would hope we could get all 7 of us together, but sometimes with everybody's busy schedule, it just doesn't work out. So we need to start getting some of these on the calendar and getting some of these things wrapped up. So
Bill, if I might, I was actually going to ask if the board would be willing to, and I know it's asking a lot, but maybe have a partial work session at the schedule of next meeting. Instead of starting at 7, maybe start at 6 and have an hour of work session. Would that make it easier?
How does that work for everybody? My only concern with that is that we don't get it finished, especially if it's a work session for the budget. If we go over,
well, I figured it could be like just a partial. You know, we could at least get some through.
As a placeholder, I'd be open to that.
I'd be fine with that too.
Okay. So did I sent you some dates, Tammy? I don't know if there were any other dates before that were open that we might get a work session, like the Monday the 18th, or is anybody available for that?
That was the thing. It was kind of like herding cats. Sorry, but yeah, and I mean, sometimes there's three board members that could be available. You all have a vast variety of schedules, so
and some of our schedules change every 15 minutes. So you guys are probably just gonna have to schedule it, and when I can be there, I will be, which will be most of the time, but I'll probably miss 1 or 2 here and there.
Well, and if anybody ever has, you know, questions that I can sit down with and go over, I would gladly, my door is always open. So
it's literally always open.
We can attest to that.
Nice.
So
all right,
if that helps.
So I guess you'll send out an email to everybody notifying everybody that we will hold that work session prior to the next board meeting. Okay. That'll be our work session for the budget.
Yes.
Okay. And then we'll work on scheduling the beach project and the municipal buildings at another date. Okay.
Yes.
Next item, Zoning Board of Appeals resignation.
Okay, I have in your packet an email from Miss Catherine Larrabee tendering her resignation from the Zoning Board of Appeals. She has agreed to stay on until the end of October in hopes of finding a replacement for her position. So I would ask that we accept her resignation at this time.
Well, first, I'd like to toss out an apology for butchering Ms. Larravee's name at the beginning of the meeting. And second, I'd go ahead and toss out a motion to accept Catherine Larravee's resignation and thank her for staying on to finish up things that she's involved in.
Yeah, I would agree. She's been a great addition to the ZBA, and I'm sorry to see her leaving, but I will support that motion with regrets. Roll call.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings? Mr. Cummings?
Oh, sorry, I was muted for repeating it. I didn't realize. Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes.
Okay. Moving on, the fall harvest block party request.
Okay, the chamber is requesting the township support for their fall harvest block party. This will take place on October 23rd on Dwight Street. I don't know.
This is something we've had before, and it's usually quite well attended.
Oh yeah, my kids love to go out to the petting zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's things to pet. Let's go.
Pull their tails.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, especially the 6-year-old. For the folks out there, like, hey, you be nice to animals. Don't pull on them. Jeez. No, you can't ride them. Come on.
So do I have a motion?
I'm sorry. I'd move to allow the Oscoda Au Chamber of Commerce to throw their fall harvest block party on Saturday, October 23rd of this year on Dwight Street from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Do I support?
I think Mr. Cummings supported. Yeah.
Okay. And just to be clear, they wanted to start, I think, at 10 o'clock setting up. So do we want to amend your motion to make it 10 o'clock, from 10 o'clock to 4?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I do see that they're closing the road at 10 a.m. So yes, I would amend my motion to 10 a.m. until 4 p.m.
Mr. Cummings, you still support that? Okay. Roll call.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. The recycling conference.
Okay, there will be a Michigan Recycling Conference, October 28th and 29th in Bay City, Michigan. As Oscoda currently doesn't have a recycling program, the township clerk and I would like to request to attend this conference and hope to gain insight into programs and possible funding to get a recycling station to Oscoda in the future.
How much does it cost?
I believe it's $275. It's kind of convoluted because if you become a member, it's cheaper. But from what I did see in the paperwork, it's $275, but well within our budget.
And is it just the one day, or?
It's 2 days, the 28th and the 29th, but we could drive, so we don't have to stay down there. We could drive in the morning and come back.
Did you say where it was happening? I didn't see where it was happening.
Bay City.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, read the double.
No, they also have virtual option as well. So.
Well, I would say anything that can get us pointed in the direction of having some sort of recycling facilities here in Oscoda would be a great thing. It's not as easy as some people might think it is to put a recycling program in place, but if this will get us some information as to how we arrive at that, then I think this would be a great opportunity. So,
and we'll
I
add,
agree.
Bill, Scott Moore had reached out to me from the school as well. And in doing this, we've actually started putting a little team together to work on this as a co-op between both the school and the township. To kind of get out there and get this information and see if we can work together to get this going and be kind of a joint project for both of us. But this came up and allowed us to meet a lot of people and collect a lot of information that would take a lot of time. In just 2 days, we can meet everybody and get a plan.
Yeah, was the school willing to offer property there to?
Yes, the school actually would like to set it up there and do it like a school program. It's kind of what we're looking at. So it'd be like a school to worker on site. So they would learn how to run it, do the financials. So basically want to structure it out like a company that these kids would run with the township and the school overseeing as part of their project. And that would, it was actually brought up by first graders and supported by quite a few different grades when Mr. Moore talked to me about it. So it's something that he and myself were very passionate about. We think we can get the information needed. This is something we could do. And we have a lot of people who love to recycle. And I mean, we're up here with all this beautiful land. I would rather see stuff getting recycled than obviously buried or any of the other issues we're still cleaning up from other decisions in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I wouldn't mind seeing a recycling program. Are you talking about, so you're going to do like a program where the students actually run the thing?
Yep.
And then I guess my question that you should ask while you're there, because you probably don't know, and maybe you do, if, you know, we're talking about doing all this recycling. Well, what about the deposit on bottles and cans? So we got a bunch of people bringing in. So if I bring in a big bag of bottles, do I get my deposit back for using the recycling area, or is it just dumped in there in your SOL?
Correct.
Which one?
The second one.
The latter?
If you want your return, you would take those to a bottle return. Everything there, we're looking at clean recycling. And actually starting last year, municipalities and cities that are doing the clean recycling program it's actually become an enterprise fund. Because there is so much money in recycling those plastics and goods here, if you do a clean program, that we would essentially get paid on that program. And that's what
nice.
We're looking at, is to build that in so it would generate some funds. And that's, I mean, these kids would really, it would be a collaboration. So you'd have the township and the school supporting it, but really getting our students out there, because this is something, like I said, they did a huge project and a lot of kids in different grades are behind it. So we feel while we've got the interest of the younger generation, this is a good time to try to get this going and get us back on the map and recycling a lot of those goods here in our local community.
Well, the first one you need to do is a cardboard bin. I will be there regularly.
Yeah,
we do need that.
For sure.
Yeah, I there's a lot of people in this community that have asked about recycling for years. So I would make a motion that we approve Mr. Sutton and Ms. Klein attend this recycling conference in Bay City on October 28th and 29th.
Support.
Bill, I'd like an amendment to the motion just to include the night of the hotel for each one of them. There's no sense of them being in the road at 5 o'clock in the morning and 10 o'clock at night.
You'd need two hotels then, right? 2 hotel nights?
2 hotels. Yeah, the things go early and late, and there's networking opportunities after dinners and things. So I'd like them to stay down there. There's no sense being on the road that early and late.
Yeah, my motion will approve them attending and whatever costs are incurred in doing so. So if and I think you're right. I think it would be to their advantage to spend the night there, but and do some networking after the meetings. That's always helpful, and then that way they're not, getting home at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. So, but if they would prefer to drive home, that I guess that's up to them. Roll call.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wurstabarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
All right, motion passed. good luck. I hope we can put together a recycling program here in Oscoda.
Thank you. We're excited about it.
Yeah. Next, the pre-board meetings. We suspended those for the summer. We were supposed to revisit that beginning of September. And so here we are in October. Comments?
I think that we've been doing just fine without them. You know, I think that Mr. Friel's recommendation for us to try it without them has worked out well. You know, at first I really enjoyed having the work sessions because it made doggone sure that everybody went through the packet before the meeting. But I think we've all been doing a fantastic job of that anyway, and making sure that we ask questions and whatnot before the meeting if we have the opportunity to, since the packet comes out early. And the pre-board work sessions, what I'd like to see happen is not to make them go away, but to change the verbiage in the employee or in the board policy manual to say, oh, what's the word I'm looking for here?
As needed.
Optional.
Optional. Thank you. Yes.
As needed.
As needed, optional. You know, just put language in there that says that yes, they exist, but we don't have to do them unless we want to. And that way, if the board decides that we want to have them, then we just say, hey, we're going to have a pre-meeting or pre-board work session. And then maybe we utilize those not just for the township meetings, but for some of these special special work sessions that we need to get out of the way. And we could use that time on Friday before the board meetings to accommodate those requests, since we all seem to make it to those.
Yeah.
So I guess my question. No, I was getting ready to make the motion right now, but I don't know. Can we just make a motion to amend the township board protocol document to include different language that makes the pre-board work sessions optional? Or is there a whole process we have to do to get that done? I don't know. I'm asking.
The process. I remember that was something like we could only do it twice a year.
It goes to the policy committee, and then they amend it and bring it to the board.
I thought there was a schedule to it too, though, wasn't there? Like there's only a couple times a year you could change it. I thought there was an interval of time, but
I think it was too. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you're right, Mr. Cummings. I'm pretty sure that there's some stipulations around it. That's why I was asking, and I wanted to get it brought up. So I guess if it needs to go to the
right.
I think biannual.
Queue it up. Queue it up with the policy committee is the point. I think it's correct. Just take
what are the other board members' feelings about having this pre-board work session? Is there interest in my only?
I like them when we had them. I'm sorry, are you asking, or you want to?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say I liked them when we had them, but I've also, like Mr. Spencer said, that in their absence, we've been doing fine.
Yeah, my only comment was, you know, when our meetings were going so long, there are some things that we can sort of resolve. In the past, we resolved at these work sessions, things like, you know, correcting the minutes and questions on the payment of bills and those kinds of things that you can get resolved and bring up before the meeting so that it's sort of out of the way when you get to Monday night. But, you know, our meetings have gotten a little shorter. We're, you know, getting our work done a little quicker. And I'm, like I said, I think it's been going fine without them. So that's just one less meeting we have to schedule. So I'm fine with just changing the language that if we need to have one, we can call it. So is there a motion?
I would move that we send this verbiage change request about the work session, the pre-board work sessions, to the policy committee for review and to come up with the verbiage for the policy change, and to look into any other stipulations on changing that board protocol document, i.e. things Mr. Cummings was asking about. Is there a time frame, certain times we can do it? How many times can we do it, et cetera, so that if there are other things that we need to put on there and we get them all done at once, then we don't exceed our number of edits for the year, if you will. That was a long motion. Sorry, Josh.
Is there support?
Support.
I have a motion by Mr. Spencer. Send this item to the policy committee, supported by Mr. Cummings. Roll call.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire? Ms. McGuire?
Oh, sorry, yes.
Okay. Motion passed.
Biannual review, it says.
Biannual, so we can do it twice a year. Doesn't matter when.
Yeah, it says the Township Board will review and revise the Township Board Protocol Manual as needed. Biannual review.
So is it biannual or BY annual?
BI.
So twice. Okay.
10.01 is the section.
Yeah.
Okay, we can look into that. Yep. Next up is the discussion of the live meetings.
Yay, live meetings. Everybody's been hollering and screaming they want live meetings, and I agree. So to that end are the committee that we put together with myself, Mr. Sutton and Ms. Richards have met a couple of times and discussed the situation with MICTV and looked for alternative venues, including the community theater. So basically, to lay it all out, I did forward the documents. Since I didn't get them on the agenda today, I don't know if we should actually vote on that today, or if we should make sure those documents are on the packet for the public to review. But basically, the overall gist is that the cost of recording the meetings has gone up because of the amount of labor involved. And after discussions with MICTV, we have found a way to bring that cost back down by having a capital outlay of $10,000 or $15,000 to $20,000 to install or to purchase new cameras that the township owns, new speakers that the township owns, and then setting it up so that fewer operators need to be present to run the audio and video recording of the meetings, and also to facilitate the hybrid meetings with Zoom being included so that we can make sure that our township citizens and those abroad that wish to partake in our meetings have the ability to do so without being physically present. The other, so it would go from $1,200 a meeting to record it up to $1,800 if we leave it the way it is. And if we purchase the cameras, then it will come back down to the $1,200. The other side of this coin is that, and I know, Mr. Palmer, I know you love that library, but by gosh, by golly, I hate meeting in there. I hate going in there, and it's just, it doesn't feel like the right place. It's too cramped. And with all of the social distancing and everything floating around, I think that we have an opportunity here to use some of the tax money that we're going to spend here to benefit a local performing arts facility, namely the Oscoda Community Theater.
Shoreline Players Community Theater.
Shoreline Players is easier. There you have it. So if we do, the theater has offered us a $200 per meeting rate. That's just for the standard meetings, which comes out to about $3,500, $3,600 a year. And if we can do, and the reason that I'm bringing this up is twofold. We have the issue with the social distancing. We have the issue of needing a larger venue for that reason, and having the ability to have all the cameras and stuff set up static and so that they don't move around all the time. And the other thing is that over the course of time, the community theater, the Shoreline Players, they have inherited that building from the Air Force, and the heater in that building is original. It's old and it died. Now, I being a lifetime thespian, that irritates me a little bit that we're going to lose our only liberal arts center, our only performing arts center in our township. And if we can facilitate a contract between the township and the theater that will last 2 to 3 years, and provide them the money for those meetings up front, it will allow them to fix their heater, which would be beneficial to the entire community. And that's my second reason for the venue change request. So that's basically the layout of it. I'm sure there's going to be questions. Shoot.
Okay, you said you sent out some information. You emailed it.
I did.
I have not had an opportunity to look at any of that.
I understand. That's why I was talking about, since I failed to get it on the meeting agenda tonight, this was my fault. I thought that I had sent the email to Tammy and I was incorrect. I did not. So to that end, I wanted to make the presentation today to kind of stoke the fire, and then probably move to postpone until the next regularly scheduled board meeting for action.
And I would like to correct you on one item.
Sure.
I am not in love with the library.
Fair enough.
It has worked well for us when we sold the previous building and moved when that was sold, and we moved the library sufficed to hold our meetings up until this COVID. And my thought is that in building a new municipal center, that we incorporate into that a nice meeting venue for our meetings.
Absolutely.
But in the meantime, if you have a proposal something for the Shoreline Players, and we can, want to go there for a period of time, I would like to look at what your committee has put together before we take action on this. So I would make a motion that we postpone this until our next meeting and then take some action at that time.
Before I support, did anyone else have any questions that needed to be brought up today? Ms. McGuire, Mr. Woosterbarth, Mr. Paul, or I'm sorry, Mr. Cummings, did you guys have anything you want to talk about that I need to make sure that our committee has answers for at the next meeting?
I just like the idea of getting to a bigger venue where we don't have to worry about spacing. And even if it's in an interim type situation until we get a future figured out here in the next few years. But I like the idea of also helping out the local theater.
I agree with all of that. The library was always meant to be a temporary location. There was a meeting committee some years ago that when we were selling the State Street building, where we were going to go, and we were evaluating all different venues at that point, including Warriors Pavilion and other places. So, I think that this is a great opportunity actually to help an important community pillar here that we really, I would not want to see go away.
All right. Well, with support, do you have support? Thank you for the showing of support by the board members. I appreciate that.
So we have a motion to postpone a discussion on the venue for a live meeting. Roll call.
Who was the motion and support on that? That motion was Jeremy?
I made the motion by Mr. Palmer, supported by Mr. Spencer.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Cummings? Mr. Cummings?
Yes, I said yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you now. Mr. Palmer?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Woosterbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
All right. Okay, on to public comment. I see a hand up from JD Hawk.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hey.
I apologize earlier. I didn't know I was unmuted when I was just saying Shoreline Players. Didn't mean to correct you, Mr. Spencer. That wasn't my intention.
You're fine.
I was just thinking out loud. But no, the purpose of my comment, thank you very much for even considering this. Yes, it will make the cost a little bit better. It will make the presentation a lot better from what I've shared some information with Mr. Eric Joseph. Each one of the board members will have their own individual camera that we can go to them if we need to. Because as you know, MIC TV, we're all about the incredible amount of transparency that we can bring with these broadcasts. So just wanted to step in and say thank you very much for giving us this chance.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Hello, can you hear me?
There he is.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Brian Haley again. Yeah, just some background, because I know you guys haven't been at all these meetings. Now, excuse me. I did go to the last meeting at Warrior, and that was a required meeting for the next 5-year Parks and Recreation Plan. This is very near and dear because it goes to the DNR Trust Fund mainly, and this is required for FRTA, that if we're in there, you know, we can write for grants, as we can right now presently. We're in it, of course, as you guys know. So I was on this, and then I got great news from Ms. Vallette, dated, let's see, I gotta read it. I want to get it accurate. Now we got the 13th September, last month, less than a month. Hi, Brian. Just wanted to let you know that yes, FRTA is to be in the 5-year Parks and Rec plan. Have a great day. I was over the moon less than a month ago, and I let her know that in a reply. So anyway, I do go out to the meeting. Let's see. And guess what? I'm looking at all these plans for our parks. I have a great conversation with Becca and Rader. And then I happen to notice that FRTA is not represented there. That the public, in this formal, you know, this nice meeting, the park FRTA is not even there. And so I'm not pleased. So I did ask Ms. Vallette there. I didn't want to make a big deal about it. Mr. Dickerson was there. Now I find out it's not going to be in the next 5-year plan. And no one will give me a reason who authorized this. Because you're a board, and that's why I have to talk to you directly. Your board is the authority government in our township. The planning recommends, they give you advice. I'm sure a lot of it you take, but you don't have to. They're not an authority. So when I ask basic questions about process, finally I get it squeezed to, it came from the subcommittee. So this is the damage we're doing. Now, Mr. Dickerson's words on this, and it's all part of the record. I asked Mr. Dickerson if he would recommend, this was at one of his meetings out at Warrior, and the public was, everyone was listening. I believe Mr. Sutton was there. I asked him directly if he would recommend that FRTA be in the next, this new 5-year plan. His reply was short, and he was direct, fine. No was his answer. I pressed him, and the reason he gave, he did not want to scare off any developers. So here we go. We're not looking out for the best interests of our town here. We're not keeping all options open. You made it disposable for now. That's an internal piece for you guys. That's what that is. That's to stop letters from intent, or in this case, you want them to come forward. You make it non-disposable. It's you guys telling the EID director mainly you don't want to see any LOIs on this. So I'm looking for answers, guys. Don't throw away your options. You get nothing in return for throwing away the finest grant program ever developed, and that is the DNR Trust Fund. Ms. Vallette is newer, and she's gaining knowledge on the DNR Trust Fund. I gain no knowledge from any planning committee member or Mr. Dickerson. They have basically no knowledge of how great this trust fund is. You as the board, you have the authority. That's why I called on you guys at the last meeting to give Beckett Rader and the planning committee clear direction on this so they don't waste their time on it. I can't believe, no matter what your feelings on FRTA, that you're going to remove the finest granting opportunities moving forward. You have no idea how FRTA is going to be, what's going to end up. You have no idea. We saw some things with Renovar. we saw what happened in 2018. Mr. Dickerson certainly isn't aware of 2018. In fact, I wasn't even involved. Now I'll end it on this. Miss Barber, who started that stop of that, or you guys got off it for a while, and she did that on her own. This community wasn't involved, really. Now, you got a taste of it with Renovar. If an LOI comes forward for FERTA, I've asked Mr. Dickerson what does he think is going to happen. He thinks it's all going to go fine. We really need to think these things through. We have OMA violations. You guys know that. There's a lot of things going on here. I don't think it's going to go smooth. All right. Have a good night. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else? Do we have any other comments? I'm looking for raised hands. You should be able to unmute yourself.
Ms. Roush has a comment, Mr. Palmer.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, can you guys hear me all right?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. As you guys probably know by now, I am very opposed to the building of the hotel on the Lake Street property at our beach. And I have no problem making this known. Since I seem to be having difficulties getting some of my questions answered by the board, I took to Facebook and the We Are Oscoda group, which is run by the Oscoda Town Clerk, Josh Sutton, to try to find some answers and to make people aware of what's going on and to involve other residents and taxpayers in discussion on the hotel. On October 7th, Mr. Sutton removed me from the We Are Oscoda page. I sent him a direct message and asked him why I was removed from the group. His response was that I had several complaints on my post and violation of the rules. I asked him which rules I had violated, and he has yet to respond. I would like to ask Mr. Sutton publicly to answer why I was removed from that group. I find it very, very disturbing that an elected official would censor a resident / taxpayer this way. What exactly is he trying to hide, and why doesn't he want these issues to be discussed? His actions have made me more determined to find answers and inform people and have discussions, which include reaching out to the developer. From what I have seen, the board has spent more time discussing the social district issue than they did selling the Lake Street property at a loss and building a 4-story hotel on our beautiful beach. There's so many unanswered questions concerning parking, impact on the beach, fire safety, since it's going to be a 4-story building. Those are just a few things that I don't remember or haven't seen being discussed. I sent an email to Ann Richards, and when she responded to me, she even admitted that there's about a 50-50 split on whether the Holiday Inn is a good fit on that site. From what I've seen on social media, I'd say that's exaggerating the support for it. Ms. Richards also suggested that I set up a meeting with Mr. Dickerson to discuss things in person rather than on social media. Why would I do that? Why do I need to go behind closed doors and talk to Mr. Dickerson instead of asking having the board discuss and answer questions publicly? There's no need to discuss things behind closed doors. If the board feels that this hotel is such a great idea for Oscoda, you should have no problem convincing the taxpayers of that. So maybe the board should try being transparent and actually answering questions. I saw a quote the other day, and it just keeps going through my mind, and it says, "The truth does not mind being questioned. A lie does not like being challenged." And that's what I feel like right now. You don't want to be challenged. You don't want to answer our questions. You don't want to give us the details. And to me, it's disgusting. And I would really like an answer from Josh since he, like I said, is an elected official. He's running a page that has the name We Are Oscoda on it, and he removes people from it for no reason at all. And if he has a reason, he won't clarify that to me what the reason was. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else? Any other comments? Don't see any raised hands. Everyone should be able to unmute themselves.
Sure, I'll go again, Bill.
Okay, Mr. Miller.
Sure. First, I want to thank you for stepping up and running a smooth meeting tonight and finishing within 2 hours. I thank Tammy for putting together the RFP. Thank Tammy for putting together the RFP. That should have been done back in June. You should probably put your 2020 audit up on the website. And in the past, Mr. Woosterbarth has asked about root causes. That's never been answered. When will Mr. Friel submit his report and bring in and also having an ethics for the township? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Looking for raised hands. You should be able to unmute yourselves, I believe. Do you have any other comments? Last call for public comments. And I'm seeing none, I will go to board comments. Board members?
If Rick Friel is still on, or if Rick is still on, then from Row Engineering.
I'm here, Jamie.
Okay, I've had a couple people ask me lately about Cedar Lake Road and the update on that and what's going on with like the paving, those couple of chunks that are missing in the pavement over there.
The contractor we're continually reminding them to get out there and put in temporary maintenance gravel to keep those relatively passable. The final restoration won't be complete until he finishes up with the house hookups and he brings in his restoration crew. Along with that will be not only the private property restoration, but it'll also be the public right of way. So I would hope to see that here with starting within the next week or two out there on Oscoda, Green Beach, and Cedar Lake. And then over the first couple of weeks, hopefully in November, out on Offram River Road. So.
Okay, thank you.
So.
Any other board comment? If there are none, go ahead. Go ahead.
For Mr. Miller, yes, Mr. Miller, I did ask for root cause analysis I brought that back up in the first meeting in September, and I'm giving the clerk and treasurer 2 months from that time point. So I plan on bringing that back to the board in November so we can put that to bed and discuss what needs to be fixed and processed so these audit adjustments don't have to happen again. For Mr. Haley, the one thing I appreciate about Mr. Haley, he's always there and he's attentive and he's just, there representing his issue. We as a board decided to put FERTA on disposable property. We're waiting for the Planning Commission to bring us back the Parks and Rec plan, which I think we have to have approved by January, February. I'll leave that for Mr. Palmer for an exact date on that. So I guess I'm looking to see something from that in the future. I do appreciate his involvement, but me as a board member, I'm not looking to remove FERTA from that disposable list right now. And for Ms. Rausch, as we talk about the hotel, I've been gone for a couple of weeks on a family issue. I've seen a lot of emails and haven't seen the public media posts, but the township has nothing to do with the public media. We've taken that down, I think back in early spring or late last fall when we first convened the new board. And Ms. Rausch, as far as the Holiday Inn, I can't believe, I think there's been at least 7 board meetings that it's been an agenda item. We've had a couple discussions with the EIC. We've had many discussions with the documents in the LOI. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this entire board approved the Holiday Inn unanimously. So if there's an issue with the Holiday Inn, please bring it to the board. Please don't discuss it with employees. If you have an issue, the board makes the decision and leave it there. I'd appreciate leaving any issues in public media concerning employees. I wish that to stop. As a public official, I can't say that for us as elected officials, but I can for township employees. It's not right, it's not ethical, and in the end, bring it to the board. Thank you.
Further that, I'd like to say that all of the information that you're trying to garner from the board members is freely, well, not freely, but it's available via a FOIA, a Freedom of Information Act request. And if you'd like all that information brought together into a nice, concise little packet for you, then there is a fee involved, and you're welcome to pay it and get that information at your leisure.
Any other board comment? Hearing none, I will just simply say that the Planning Commission is working with Beckett and Rader to put together our Parks and Rec plan. Beckett and Rader has done a nice job. They conducted a survey, online survey. We had over 250 people, 250 or 260, something like that, that responded to that survey. We held a meeting at Warrior Pavilion last month to go over the Parks and Rec plan, as Mr. Haley pointed out. That was not very well attended, unfortunately, by the community. But Beckett and Rader is finishing up the Parks and Rec plan, and it will be coming to the board for approval shortly. I don't have an exact date on when that will be, but the Planning Commission suggested that Furtaw Field not be included in the Parks and Rec plan because, as Mr. Haley's pointed out about the MNRTF grants, if we sell something that's designated as a park, that affects our ability to get grants in the future for our other parks. So we can always add Furtaw back in to our parks. But if we put it in at this time, while it's still a disposable property, we would have a problem. That is the primary reason that it's not it will not be included in the Parks and Rec plan that comes to this board. And that should be coming, I think, well, it will be before the end of the year. I don't want to commit Beckett and Rader to a time frame. I don't know exactly the dates that they will have that finalized, but it should be coming to this board fairly soon. Other than that, I'd like to thank Ms. Klein for helping me out on conducting this meeting. It was kind of a short notice. I didn't have much time to prepare for this. I didn't see Ann's email until about 5:30 this afternoon. So I hope she's making it home and isn't stranded in the airport for too much longer. But with that, I will take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Don't move.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Good night, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night.